random accessed their computer with a digital sequencer, and I slipped their computer a virus. What the hell?
Sam and Peter, two guys on company business.
This whole deal here is weird. Gotta admit that.
So you don't know what you're doing either?
No more than you, pal.
For two very competitive companies.
These people don't jump for us like they used to.
You and me were servants.
They were set to close one last deal.
Clean yourself up to the play, hell.
What do you think?
Hey, you look like a Ringo Starr.
That turned into a hostile takeover.
Why would I want to go anywhere with you?
And when their bosses worked out a merger,
I got news for you. You're being traded.
Sam and Peter needed a retirement plan.
I want to go someplace warm.
What are you complaining about?
It's not exactly a golden parachute, but there is definitely a pension.
Wow. $2 million.
If they're around to collect it.
Trust me.
Trust you. This whole thing's getting out of hand.
Do you know what you are? Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
What happened down there?
I like you better than I liked him.
What two employers could treat two employees like this?
This is a company problem.
The CIA and the KGB.
Oh, fudge.
Gene Hackman, Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Don't you think you're being a little theatrical?
Someone's got to take care of you.
Company business.
До свидания. До свидания.
You know, honestly, the most shocking thing about this movie is that the director of this is Nicholas Meyer. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, you probably don't realize that he's also done movies like Time After Time, but most notably, he did Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, The Day After, Volunteers, The Deceivers, and he actually had another film that came out in 1991, and that, of course, was Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Needless to say, that movie is a whole lot better than this movie is. This movie, it's a mess, man, and I don't know if Gene Hackman was really just taking anything that he could take because he was struggling to find good scripts, but man, did he miss the mark on this one. I mean, this is, if you look at the history behind this, pretty much everybody here missed the mark. Nicholas Meyer has later since said that this movie was a catastrophe to make. Mikhail Baryshnikov has come out against it. Gene Hackman was reportedly exhausted from shooting 3 films back-to-back, that he wanted to back out of filming 2 weeks before the movie was set to begin shooting, but he was afraid that MGM was going to sue him, so he stayed on to it. And honestly, it definitely shows in that little trailer there, because there's nothing really all that funny there, and the chemistry between Hackman and Baryshnikov, two great actors, it just really isn't there. And you also have Kurtwood Smith in there, Terry O'Quinn, just these great actors in here, but really, there's nothing in here that really says, this is a good movie, this is something I have to see. And judging by the reviews I've seen and the fact that it barely made any money at the box office, and it barely crossed over $500,000 its opening weekend, it should really tell you a whole lot, because it's a shame too, because like everybody involved in this is very talented. They have made great movies in the past, but this just doesn't look very good whatsoever. I mean, the movie, some of the lines in there are so bad. Like the idea that the idea is that both Hackman and Baryshnikov are these older people, and this lady in the movie keeps calling them dinosaurs, which I don't know, man. Like, Gene Hackman was old, but he was not that. Let me see. Okay, Gene Hackman was about 61 when this came out, and Baryshnikov was not barely past his 40s at this point. I mean, Hackman I can understand, Baryshnikov, not so much. I mean, that's like some of those lines there don't really make a whole lot of sense, and I think it's interesting that the working title for this was actually called Dinosaurs, but they dropped it because Disney had already registered it for the 90s TV series. That's what is obviously a lot better than this movie was, but I'm guessing. But I digress. This movie doesn't look like it was any good whatsoever. I mean, it's a movie that nobody really talks about. It hasn't left much of an impact. Most of the things that people remember is how terrible it was. So, that's really all I got to say about this one, since I haven't seen it. I can't really comment on it too much, but that's pretty much all you have to say about it. Company business. It is what it is.
As a boy, he was always different. No one understood him.
You ready for it, boy? It's time to take your medicine. Thank you, sir.
No one could control him.
Go inside, honey.
But now, it's a new beginning. The beginning of the end for Freddy.
Every town has an Elm Street. Screaming while the bus is in motion. It's your mind will go for it. I'll get you, Mikey, and your little soul, too.
We're gonna have to hit him with everything we've got.
Now I'm playing with power.
We're in Twin Peaks here. It's gotta be me and him.
You want to live? Mikey, watch out! What's with kids today, huh?
Freddy's dead. The final nightmare.
Great graphics.
They saved the best for last.
Yeah, save the best for last is probably not the best words to use for this, but, I'm not gonna lie, it is a pretty fun movie for what it is. Like, it's a movie that probably isn't the best way to end this series overall, because it does have kind of a cop-out ending where it doesn't really end the series all that well, but, I'm not gonna lie, I had a pretty good time with it, honestly. Like, I like it more because I think it's more funnier than it is scarier, because there's so many different elements of this movie that actually made me laugh pretty hard. It's like, it's so bad. It's like, it's kind of a guilty pleasure movie, to say the least. Like, I mean, it works still because it's Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. I mean, he's always going to make this work no matter what. But part of what made this movie funnier for me was just the ways that he trolls people and the way they kills them. Like, this is where it gets the most ridiculous. Like, I love how he just trolls this one guy all throughout the movie, and like, every time he just keeps waking up from a dream. There's one point where he's just like, I'm not getting out of bed, I'm not gonna let him get me, and then all of a sudden, there's just fire coming up over the bed, and he just has this look on his face like, ah, shit. It's just like, it's hilarious, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that stuff, it's funny. It's definitely not the way the series probably was intended to go, but I don't know, like I said, I had a good time with it. But yeah, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare definitely was not the best way to end this series. But you know what? Like I said, I had a good time with it overall. It does have a cop-out ending, kind of, that for something that's supposed to be the end of a series, it doesn't really set it up that very well, I should say. But, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is a fun movie. It is still a very fun movie overall. But I think the next movie in the series, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, definitely brought back the reason why Freddy Krueger was seen as a menacing threat in the early films. That movie, I think, does it a whole lot better. But for what this movie does, it's ridiculously silly. It's completely over the top. It's a so bad it's good type of movie. I'm just like, okay, I'm going along with it. So yeah, definitely not as good as some of the other movies. But like I said, I had a good time with it. So that's Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is, well, actually, it's the last movie that we look at. It's River Phoenix and Lily Taylor in Dogfight.
We have a tradition in the Marines. The rules are simple. Each of the guys puts in $75. You set up a meeting place and time. Excuse me, hi. And then you go out and see what you can bring back.
What's your name?
Rose. Rose Fenny.
Better shove off here soon. Gotta go to a party. Say, maybe you'd like to go with me.
A dress-up party?
Yes, a dress-up party. You look great.
Yeah. It's not really as bad as it sounds, right? Free cocktail, free beer, and they gotta be polite. Those are the rules. They gotta be polite. What rules? The rules of the dog fight.
I'll be a son of a gun. That is a guy.
I'll give you a 7.
The ugliest woman wins $100 for the guy who brings her. I'm the ugliest, so I win.
You know, honestly, that trailer doesn't really sell that movie very well, especially the idea that this guy just goes out with ugly women just so he can win bets and all that. It's just like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is based on a true thing that actually happened back then. I can't really comment on it because, obviously, I wasn't born in the 1960s. I was only 2 years old when this movie came out, so what do I know? But, I mean, from what I've seen from the reviews for here, it's actually not that bad of a movie from what I've seen from the critics. But, and I'll admit, the second half of the trailer, which I didn't show you, it did get better. Like, it did get a lot better. I did like the chemistry between River Phoenix and Lily Taylor. I do like the idea that they have in this, so I don't know. Maybe that first half of the trailer really wasn't working for me, but I'm not gonna lie. That second half of the trailer, I was just like, okay, I could definitely see this going in the right direction. And like I said, it hasn't gotten any bad reviews for it. It's actually been widely praised by people. It's actually recognized as a American Film Institute 100 Years, 100 Passions nominee, so obviously did something right, so what do I know? So, yeah, maybe it might be a good film. Maybe I might check it out one day, but I'm not going to rush out to see it right away. If it's on TV or if it's somewhere on streaming, I'll definitely check it out at some point, but I'm not in a quick mood to watch it right now.
Years. I've been frozen with Frank.
The critics are raving about Late for Dinner.
Oh, that's good.
Irresistible.
Oh, this is
Weird. Absolutely delicious. A charming and tender love story.
I came back for you.
An enjoyable romantic comedy.
Forever, Joy.
Late for Dinner.
I have my head in the Frigidaire. Starting to feel old again.
Rated PG. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
I get the feeling that Mel Gibson saw this movie and said, I could probably do this movie maybe a little bit better, because he pretty much did the same thing with Forever Young, where you have a guy who was like frozen in time for a long period of time, then he comes back into the modern age and then falls in love. And I don't know, it's a concept that has a lot of good ideas to potentially work, but neither that movie nor this movie I don't think really does it all that well. The ideas are there. I think the acting is very good with the actors they have: Brian Wimmer, Peter Berg, Marcia Gay Harden, Peter Gallagher. A good cast overall here, but I don't know, the execution in this one didn't really pan out as well. Despite the great actors they have involved here, it felt kind of generic. It felt very formulaic. It felt like a script that you kind of knew where everything was going to go, and it was a movie that just really didn't work for me. It was one of those movies that I was really looking forward to when a long time ago when I first heard about it, and then when I finally got to see it recently, I was just like, yeah, this really didn't live up to the expectations that I thought I had coming into it. But it's not a bad movie. It's just one that's just kind of there. It's just kind of like vapor. You watch it once, and then you immediately forget about it a day or two later. And that's pretty much what happened with this particular movie. So, not off to a great start here with Late for Dinner, but surely we'll get better with our next movie, and that is Living Large.
Dexter Jackson wanted to be on TV.
How's he ever gonna be an anchor man?
Then he got his shot.
I'm Charles Hempstead, coming to you live. Now we have no anchor.
Well, I'll miss it. The sniper did, but we will.
Stay with the homeboy.
Dig it. Now he's going from streetwise to high-rise.
You the man. No, you the man.
Living Large, a comedy about making it.
Can you believe that?
Rated R. Starts Friday, September 20th at theaters everywhere.
What the hell was that? I mean, I got nothing on this one. I don't know what this movie was trying to be. I don't know who wrote this. This writer I've never even heard of. This is directed by the guy who did The Last Dragon. I mean, that was a fun movie in its own right, but I don't know what the hell is going on with this movie. I mean, this feels like a movie that's intended more for an African American audience, but it's also trying to be more mainstream so that people of other colors and other races can go into it and enjoy it. And I don't think anybody would want to see that after watching this it's not just the TV spot that I just showed you. I watched the trailer for myself. The trailer's even more ridiculous. It's a concept that maybe could work under the right hands. I mean, they have a decent director here who has made some decent stuff, but the script just feels like something that was manufactured from a studio that's trying to appeal to a younger generation, and they just don't know how to do it. It's like with any corporation. They try the lowest common denominator to appeal to a younger generation, or a generation of a different race, or a different color, or different religion, all that type of stuff, and it's just like, it just doesn't work, and it shows when it doesn't work, where there's no real effort there to put it. Like, get a real writer to make something like this, and maybe you'd have something, but this just looks terrible on so many levels. I mean, I got nothing on this one. I mean, it like I said, it looks terrible, so yeah, probably not going to watch that one anytime soon. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and now we're talking, it's McBain.
He's one of the most respected citizens in the state, McBain. And yet you ran his limo off a cliff, broke the necks of 3 of his bodyguards, and drove a bus to his front door?
Well, Captain, I have proof that he's head of an international drug cartel.
I don't want to hear it, McBain. You're out of here.
That makes 2 of us.
Oh, how I wish it was that McBain. I mean, that would have been more incredible, but, nope, it's a different McBain. But, hey, at least you got Christopher Walken in here. I mean, he never usually turns in a bad performance, so how bad could this possibly be?
I've been expecting you. It is the right of the people to provide for the common defense.
Does this rebel army have any money?
It's not enough. It is the right of the people to promote the general welfare.
This is our annual fundraising drive, and we would like you to contribute $10 million.
It is the right of the people to rise up.
What the fuck do you want? Money. Money? You guys sure kill a lot of people for a little money.
It is the right of the people to bear arms, to wage war. What does it take to set a country free? McBain.
And this is why you need Christopher Walken to be weird in nearly every single movie is in, because when you try to give him a straight performance, it turns into this movie. I mean, this is just a lousy movie on so many levels. It's not just Walken that's bad in this. Unfortunately, you also have Maria Conchita Alonso, who's a great action actress from the time. Michael Ironside's also in here. There's potential here, but just the script, it's another generic script. It's a really bad script that doesn't really do anything to make anything special out of it. It's just go in there, do a typical action movie, cliche-riddled film. Let me rephrase that. Do a cliche-riddled action movie, a typical cliche-riddled action movie, and then, boom, there you go. And it's just, the sad part is, the name McBain originally came from The Simpsons. And even though this movie didn't do well whatsoever, they were actually told to not use the name McBain for The Simpsons during this time period. I don't know if that's when they came up with the actor who played McBain, Rainier Wolfcastle, Toyboat, Rainier Wolfcastle, but it's weird because there was that brief period where they couldn't use the name McBain, but guess, but obviously that didn't last very long because they pretty much used it after this movie came out and flopped at the box office. And really, I don't have any more to say about this one. This is just a bad movie. It's bad because it's not just a bad cliche riddled action film, but it's a toned down Christopher Walken performance. And I'm sorry, Christopher Walken's usually the best when he's playing that weird, chaotic, crazy person in movies. Like, anytime he gives a good, crazy, weird, chaotic performance, it automatically makes the movie a little bit better. I mean, The Country Bears would not be enjoyably fun as it is if it wasn't for Christopher Walken having a huge part in that movie. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about this one. McBain is, pretty bad. So we are definitely not off to a good start this week, but we do at least get back into the swing of things with our next movie, and that is Robert Duvall, Diane Ladd, and Laura Dern in Rambling Rose.
Love Rambling Rose, the kind of lovable, honest, and unpredictable American movie you never get anymore.
Oh, at least.
If Robert Duvall isn't already considered the best actor on the planet, this performance should put things in perspective.
Stop behaving as if you're a Bo Peep.
Diane Ladd and Laura Dern are likely to grab the first mother-daughter Oscar nominations. Rambling Rose, rated R. Starts Friday at selected theaters.
Well, I can honestly say that it was certainly a lot better than the last 3 movies we looked at, but I say that in a good way because this is a really good movie, and it's largely because of the great performances all throughout the film. You have the previously mentioned Laura Dern and Diane Ladd. You have Robert Duvall, John Hurd from Home Alone, Lucas House. The director of this is Martha Coolidge, who would actually go on to direct a couple of pretty good movies later on in this decade, including Out to Sea, a very underrated Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau movie. She also did the Lost in Yonkers, which came out a couple years later. She also did before this Real Genius and Valley Girl. So she is a good director, and these are a lot of good performances that are really carrying this movie overall. It's a wonderfully well-made film. Visually, it looks pretty impressive. They did a pretty good job of creating this sepia tone feeling of the 1970s with some of the cinematography they do here. And it is an overall really good movie. It's a well-made film, well-directed, well-acted, well-written. It's a great film. It's a really good film. If you haven't seen Rambling Rose, I can't recommend it enough. Definitely check it out. But we come to easily the best movie that came out this entire weekend, and that is Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges and Terry Gilliam's The Fisher King.
Okay, Jack, we're on the air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it's Monday morning, and I'm Jack Lucas.
In the world of talk radio, Jack Lucas was king.
Look, I said I want an offer, they can forget it.
To stay on top, he did whatever he had to.
Forgive me!
But one day, Jack went too far.
It was Mr. Lucas's offhand remark that seemed to have fatal impact on Mr. Malnick.
No matter what I have, it feels like I have nothing.
Yo, what's going on?
And just when he was about to give up on his own life, he stumbled into Perry's.
Unhand that degenerate and remove his presence! I like New York in June. How about you?
You know who I am?
Hood ornament.
No. I'm a knight on a special quest.
A quest?
And I need help.
You're out of your mind! Yes!
Now, Jack has to do something he's never done before.
Isn't she a vision? I'm deeply smitten.
Help someone else.
I thought that if I could get him this girl that he loves, things would change for me.
Let's do it right here. Let's go to that place out yonder in the grass.
Mrs. Perry?
Perry.
No, just Perry.
Huh? Like Moses.
I think we were made for each other. Scary, but true.
Sometimes, to find yourself,
I'm the janitor of God. You find some pretty wonderful things in the trash.
You have to risk it all.
Bingo!
I'm not doing that.
Robin Williams, Jeff Bridges, The Fisher King.
I love it, guys!
Hug me in public again.
I mean, one of the things that strikes you right off the bat is that even if you've never seen a Terry Gilliam movie, you can look at that trailer and see a lot of his cinematic and unique styles of filmmaking that he usually puts into his movies. I mean, even if you've never seen the Monty Python movies, you could definitely tell there's something very different than what you would usually see from a director of this type of film. But, really, this really is the best movie that came out this weekend. One of the best movies of the year, no question about it. And it does work in showing that Terry Gilliam is very good, can be very good at directing something outside of his norm. This was one of his first major projects he did outside of the Monty Python series. This was actually the last film that he did. This was the first film he did after The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. He did it because he was tired of doing big-budget special effects films. And so he did this movie, and it really shows how great of a director he can really be. And it also helps that you have a great script by Richard Gravenese. Toy Boat. I will get it right. Richard LaGravenese. Am I saying that right?
Richard LaGravenese.
That was close. Now I can't remember it again.
Richard LaGravenese.
Richard LaGravenese. Okay.
Richard LaGravenese.
Okay. So, Richard LaGravenese, who writes a really good script, and of course you have all these great performances. Robin Williams giving another great performance that got him an Oscar nomination. Jeff Bridges, who gives a really good performance in this. He was unfortunately not nominated. Mercedes Ruehl, who was not only nominated, but she ended up winning Best Supporting Actress, and she really does give it her all in this movie. She really is one of the strongest performances of the film. You also have Amanda Plummer, Michael Jeter, David Hyde Pierce, Harry Shearer, Kathleen the Jimmy, John Delancey. Just a great cast overall, working with this wonderful script and this great direction by Terry Gilliam. It's a wonderful film, a very good, well-made film. I can't recommend this movie enough. It's one of the best movies that came out this particular year. Definitely see The Fisher King if you haven't seen it already. It's kind of required viewing, honestly, in my opinion. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Don Johnson, Melanie Griffith, and Elijah Wood in Paradise.
In everyone's life, there is a time that will always be remembered.
How long is this kid staying?
Not long.
Don't expect me to entertain him.
For a boy named Willard,
Sit down and I'll make you a really nice lunch.
that time is now.
What are you listening to?
Rap.
Rap.
It details the common man's struggle for survival in a hostile environment.
What?
He's discovering what it means when two people drift apart.
Can't make up my mind. Are you sick of me? Or are you just dead inside?
And what it takes to bring them back together.
How come you always do that?
What?
Making me think so hard.
That's a good question. It's a very good question.
They gave him a summer he'd never forget.
Do you love them anymore?
He gave them back the love they'd lost.
Ben thinks you're beautiful.
Melanie Griffith, Don Johnson, and Elijah Wood in Paradise.
And another movie that looks like it could have been the ABC TV Movie of the Week or the CBS, NBC, Fox, Lifetime Movie of the Week, those type of things. I mean, honestly, it really does feel that way. The director of this, I don't even know what other work she's done. Mary Agnes Donahue. Let me see. I mean, she wrote she did one redeemable thing, and that was the script for Beaches. But other than that, though, yeah, there's really nothing else on her resume that really sticks out, quite honestly. And it's not that the movie is bad or anything. It's just, like I said, it's just another movie that's disguising itself as as something that it actually isn't. Like, it's like if you took these actors out and put somebody else in there, or even just put this movie on TV, you really couldn't tell the difference between a TV Movie of the Week or a theatrical release. And it's a shame, because there could be something good here with this. I mean, these people aren't bad actors. I mean, everybody here is doing their best. I mean, you've got Elijah Wood in here, Thora Birch, Don Johnson, Melanie Griffith. They've been great actors in the past, and this movie just doesn't really work. It's just a movie that, like I said, it just feels like a film that could have been on TV for the Sunday night movie of the week, and didn't even need to be in a theater. And really, there's no real reason for this to be in a theater. The only reason this was in a theater because Disney wanted to copy the success of Beaches. But Beaches worked a lot better than this movie did on so many other levels. This just feels like a movie that was just a TV movie of the week blown up for the big screen. I mean, that's really all I got to say about this one. Yeah, not very good. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Sean Penn's The Indian Runner.
My brother Frank was due back from Vietnam. We hadn't seen each other since I'd lost the farm in '65. The closeness I felt with my brother was with that rough and tumble kid I knew before high school. He looked like a hero.
Hey, don't you do that. Don't you do that. You did it.
I gotta try and get close to him again. I gotta try. Something.
Frankie and Joe have one more chance to make everything right.
I miss this, Frankie. I missed having a laugh with you. Me too.
One last chance to be brothers.
I'm an Indian runner.
Means you can't find me. I'll get you.
Valeria Golino.
So you've done everything you can.
Patricia Arquette.
I'll marry you.
Dennis Hopper.
Do you ever want to kill someone and you don't do it because you're afraid?
And Charles Bronson.
He's a very restless boy, that Frankie.
Look at him, and I see this little boy with his little toy gun belt on. My little brother.
Don't you cry.
The Indian Runner.
So not only was the Sean Penn's movie that he directed, this was the first movie he directed as a whole. He would also go on to do movies like Jack Nicholson, with a couple of Jack Nicholson films, I should say, The Crossing Guard and The Pledge. He would do Into the Wild, which I think is his best directorial film, The Last Phase, and Flag Day. And as you can tell in the trailer, David Morse and Viggo Mortensen played the two brothers in this movie. And I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on it, but it looks really good. I mean, like, I don't think Sean Penn is a bad director. I think he's a great actor, too, but I think really his strongest film as a director, to me, was Into the Wild. I thought that movie really worked to his advantages as a filmmaker, and you could definitely see a lot of those elements of Into the Wild in here. And most of the movies he's directed have been okay. They haven't been groundbreaking films. Like I said, the real breakout was Into the Wild, but this looks like it could be something a little bit better than some of the other movies he's directed. So I actually am really looking forward to checking this out one day. I think it can get it on Blu-ray or streaming. Some way I'm going to find a way to watch it, because I am curious about it. So there you go. That's my thoughts on The Indian Runner just from that trailer.
This year, the Texas State Armadillos are a little short on talent.
Show me the arms, son. Throw the ball, genius.
How about that? He stinks at two sports. But Coach Riggs thinks he knows where to find it.
I never saw anybody fire that football the way you do. Maybe you should stay here with all your high school trophies. I wonder just how great you might have been.
Now Paul Blake is back to finish the season he started 16 years ago.
I hope he gets younger as he gets closer.
Whoa, a 40-year-old freshman?
Yeah, maybe he knew Elvis. We taught to respect our elders.
Well, I'm not that old.
Trying to win with raw talent won't be easy. Again, because this is as raw as it gets.
Once more. Come on now. That's better.
We'll be the laughing stock of college football.
Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle.
What do you think we are now?
It has to be your team. Hey, come on, you don't want to mess with us. We're nobody. I want someone to be their leader, not to leave them behind.
This Armadillo team is on a roll after last week's non-loss.
Nobody thinks a team of wannabes, led by a has-been, can make it through the season.
You guys got a hell of a lot of energy left, considering we lost by 40 points.
But the Armadillos are taking it one game at a time.
That's what happened to wrestling, man. Women take over the sport, man.
What we need to do is get crazy. We need to get wild. We need to...
Hey, little doggy.
roughness.
I've been waiting for you. You should be waiting for the guy to cut your hair.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that this was trying to be the major league for college football, and really, that's probably the biggest flaw of the movie, is that it's pretty much just major league, except it's replaced baseball with college football, and also make it PG-13 so the families can come out and see it, which I don't think it really helped them. The movie did well, but it didn't do, like, super, super well like Major League did. But, I'll give it this, though. The movie itself isn't that terrible. I mean, I did get some good laughs out of it. I think the cast overall works very well. You got Scott Bakula, Robert Loggia, Harley Jane Kozak, Sinbad, Hector Elizondo, Kathy Ireland, Jason Bateman, Fred Dalton Thompson, Larry Miller, Rob Schneider. All very good people here, and they're making this stuff funny. And yeah, it's a very formulaic film. It's not very much like a generic sports movie where the underdogs become the champions at the end of the film. It's pretty much just that, but like I said, it's not terrible by any means. There are moments in here that, for the most part, are pretty funny. There are a lot of good funny moments. The performances overall are pretty good, and really the biggest flaw is that it's very generic. It's a very generic film, but, you know, even generic films can be somewhat good for the most part. I mean, that's pretty much what this movie is, so yeah, it's pretty much Major League for college football, but it's not that bad of a movie. It's a movie that I think is pretty good for the most part. Not one that I'd watch over and over again, but if it's on every once in a while, I might check it out. I'll definitely check it out, but yeah, overall, a good movie. Not a great one overall, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it for what it was, so that's my thoughts on Necessary Roughness. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the second movie, and that is Goldie Hawn in the thriller Deceived.
Adrian Davis enjoyed her work.
Why would anyone ever want to cover these little guys up?
Loved her husband.
I don't know what I'd do without you.
You'd think of something.
Adored her child.
How you doing, honey? Good.
She thought her life was perfect.
And I love you.
Until a coincidence made her wonder.
You know, the weirdest thing happened to me yesterday. I was with Charlotte at the Chesterfield Hotel, and she told me that she could have sworn she saw you go into the lounge there.
Now there are questions she can't answer.
You didn't go to Boston, did you?
Suddenly I'm a liar?
Mysteries she can't solve.
They discovered a fake necklace
at the museum.
We traced the forgery to a jeweler in Stuttgart who said the necklace was made for a guy by the name of Daniel Sherman.
Evidence she can't deny.
You had his business card. I found it in your suit pocket.
What else am I lying about, Adrian? What else?
Suspicions she can't escape.
The man with the social security number that your husband claimed was his died 16 years ago.
Until there's only one thing she's sure of.
I don't know who you are.
Yes, you do. I'm your husband.
Nothing is what it seems.
Now we're all fair game.
I'm going to ask the police to reinvestigate Jack's death.
This complicates everything. We don't know who your husband was. Who knows anybody else, really?
You know what I'm thinking?
What?
How lucky I am.
Goldie Hawn, John Hurd. Deceived.
Yet another movie that's been there, done that, except the difference with this movie compared to Necessary Roughness, while that movie had some good moments to it, this movie does not. I mean, man, this is a rough movie. I mean, it's one of Goldie Hawn's rare non-comedic roles that she did, because most of her roles that she was in were mostly comedic roles. A dramatic role here or there, but never anything like this. And really, the movie just suffers because this is literally a really generic premise and plot that we've seen done over and over and over again. We've had so many movies this particular year that did similar stories like this one, and it wouldn't stop from there. We continue into the next year in '92 with a couple of films: Hand Rocks the Cradle, Single White Female, these type of movies where where this person you're supposed to be you've been trusting this whole time turns out to be someone that they aren't supposed to be. There have been much better movies like this. I mean, Betrayed, which actually has John Hurt in that movie, was a much better movie than this movie is. I mean, it also doesn't help that Goldie Hawn really doesn't feel like she's trying to take this role very seriously. I think she's just playing this in just a generic form. Like, it's a very generic performance that you're supposed to have these emotions. You're supposed to be this type of person. Like, nobody in here really has that feel of a person that you can actually believe in, that would be realistic. But yeah, it's just not here in this movie, and it's a shame because one of the writers on this is Bustro Rubin, who also did Ghost and Jacob's Ladder. You know it's bad when you have to change your pen name from your original name to another name in particular. It wasn't Alan Smithy, but this time it was Derek Saunders. Even the other writer, Mary Agnes Donahue, which we actually looked at a movie from hers from last week, which was Paradise. She wanted her name off of this. She thought the idea of having a safe middle-class life turned out to be a complete lie was an inspiration for this, and that's not what I wanted to say. But she didn't want to make any. What I wanted to say was she didn't want to make any changes to the script, but that's when they brought in Rubin to do it, and this was just after he won the Oscar for Ghost, and they made him put a new name on it there. So if your movie has a script that's not very good, and you have to bring somebody else in and change their name altogether, yeah, you're not really getting anywhere with this movie. It's a shame too because it's not a bad idea to see somebody like Goldie Hawn be in a more serious role than what we're used to seeing her in, but it just gets it's just a generic, really bad thriller. The mystery isn't all that exciting. The climax is just as absurd and ridiculous as you can get. It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie all around. It's a shame because there was some potential there, but like I said, if your script isn't that good enough to begin with, it's not going to work altogether. No matter how much you try, no matter how many people you get involved in it, but it's just not going to work. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Deceived.